Hey guys, Dragon47 here, and today I'm going to be trying something a little different. I know you guys have been waiting for a video. There's been snow, and you know what they say, Minnesota weather, and a lot of crappy things have just been happening recently, and I've been able to get a video out. But I'm not going to sit here and complain about it. I'm going to give you guys my video because I owe you a video. And today I'm going to be talking to you guys about how to play Yu-Gi-Oh! Because some people have been watching my channels and been wondering what the heck is going on. And I feel sometimes that channels don't exactly express enough how to play Yu-Gi-Oh! So I'm going to basically teach you guys what Yu-Gi-Oh! Is and how to play it. And so this episode is going to start off with the basic statistics of Yu-Gi-Oh! So, the main point of Yu-Gi-Oh! Is each player has 8,000 life points. When a player takes damage, you have to subtract it from the actual life points. I'll get to that in a few seconds. But basically, the goal is to basically send the other opponent's life points from 8,000 to 0. I know it sounds like a lot of points, but in reality, it really is not, especially with today's format when you only have like 6 or less turns before crap happens. But in all reality, it's a really fun game, and if you guys want to have this next video, make sure to smash that like button. So, before we start, we have to address a few rules. Number 1, a Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck has to have between 40 to 60 cards. You see little decks like these little speed duel decks, they don't actually count for actual Yu-Gi-Oh! But if you want me to do a speed duel video, then leave a comment in the section below, because I think I got a speed duel deck laying around here somewhere, but I'm not going to get into that today. So basically, this is a monster card. It has a level, type, an attribute, ATK and DEF, and just a little description. So this guy's name is the Witty Phantom. He is dressed in a night black tuxedo. This creature presides over the darkness. So these stars in the corner, these things are called a level. I hope my camera is actually camera focused. So levels are important to you because higher levels you need to do better things with. I'll get to that in a minute. But for now, this is basically what a monster card is. This one's a level 4. It's a dark type. And attack means if you summon it like this, it has however many attack points, which would be 1,400, and defense points, which is 1,300. So if he's ever in defense mode, he has 1,300. So if we were going to say, I summon a monster in attack position, you'd place him up just like this. In this, not here, and definitely not over here. That's not how it works. It has to go into the main zone, hence you see right here. And if you're going to play a defense position, you'd take it and you'd actually flip it upside down and leave it as a set card. The reason you do that is because when you flip it up, it gives you or the opponent a little bit of a bluff. Because you could set down a monster and it would have a lot of defense points, and if they tried to hit your monster with that card, and this card has more defense points, they would take the difference in damage. So how does one exactly deal damage? I'm going to showcase Typhoon 2 and the Witty Phantom. So if this card is in this monster zone, this card right here has 1,700 ATK and 1,900 defense. If he was all the way over here and he was here, you could do, during this player's turn, he can declare an attack, hit your monster, and basically what you do is you subtract 1,700 from 1,400, so that'd be 300. Take that 300 and subtract it by 8,000. Your grand total would be 7,700, and your card would get destroyed because it was destroyed by battle, and it would be sent over here to the graveyard. Later on, I will talk about banished zones, but for now, I'm going to try and avoid those as much as possible. So, how do you summon a monster with more stars? Well, that's pretty simple, actually. You start off by summoning a monster like the Witty Phantom, as I've said before, and then, basically, after that, it depends on what type of monster you want to summon. So let's just say you want to summon Typhoon 2. Well, he's a level 6 monster, which means you need to do 1 tribute in order to summon this card. So a tribute summon is when you sacrifice a weaker monster on your field to be able to summon a stronger one. So you're only allowed to use 1 tribute, unless it says so in the card text, for a monster of a level 5 or 6 level. So if I wanted to summon Typhoon 2, which is currently in my hand, I would have to sacrifice my Witty Phantom as in send to graveyard, to summon out the Typhoon 2. And you can tribute summon in face up attack position or face down defense position. I honestly would do defense if you're playing Typhoon 2, although I'm not exactly sure why you would want to, because it has a juicy 900 defense booty, and it can take a little bit of that extra damage. Now, if you wanted to summon something even bigger, a level 7 card, or higher, basically, I'm not saying that you'd ever want to summon this card, but some decks like to use it. This is a card known as Heretic Seal of the Sun Dragon Overlord. It has 0 attack and defense, and basically, I'm only using it because it's the only high-level normal monster I have at the moment. In order to summon this card, you need to sacrifice 2 monsters on your field. So I'm going to play Witty Phantom, and then I'm going to throw Chosen by the World Chalice. Just because. So we'll say you have these 2 out on the field, and you have this in your hand. If you wanted to summon this, you'd sacrifice both cards to the graveyard to summon out this guy right here. He is a light type, he is a level 8, and he's a dragon monster. So that would happen. And if you're wondering, no, you cannot sacrifice a level 6, 1 sacrifice for a level 8, 7 or higher. That's not how it works. You have to have 2 tributes for it. Unless it says you can special summon it, and that's by another card effect. We'll get into that later. So let's talk about spell cards. Spell cards are cards that kind of look like this. This is a double cyclone spell. So basically, spell cards have little symbols here. They're more of the greenish type of card, and basically they have a neat little card effect whenever you activate it down here. So these would be the monster zones, right? Okay. Down here would be the pendulum, spell, and trap zones. We're not going to cover pendulums in this video. That will come later. So basically, for now, I'm just going to be using this zone as reference for double cyclone. So double cyclone's effect is you can select 1 spell or trap card you control, god dang it, and 1 spell or trap card your opponent controls, destroy the selected targets. So basically, if you had another spell or trap card sitting down here, I'm just going to go with this card, and you play this card, you can destroy your opponent's. Let's just pretend that your opponent has one way over here by destroying this one and this one. And basically what would happen is this card would go to the grave, you get rid of your opponent's back card, which was Trading Places, and you destroy your own card, which would be Gravity Lash. I'm not saying that you'd ever want to play any of these 3 cards, but if you really want to, go right ahead. I'm not going to stop you. As a matter of fact, if you play older cards like this, I'll applaud you, because who doesn't love the original anime? And no, you do not begin with 4,000 life points like the anime suggests. That I don't believe has ever actually happened. So before we move on into trap cards and what spell cards further do, let's just talk about the phases hence you do. So pre-game, you shuffle your deck and you start with 5 cards in your hand. So let's just say this is a deck, you shuffle it up, you draw the top 5 cards. Before you look at them, you either flip a coin. I usually like to play rock, paper, scissors, but you know, do whatever in order to see what your hand's like. Now, I just drew this hand. And basically, you're allowed to choose whatever you want to be able to do whatever you please. So let's just say I was going to play Misaki, the legendary swordsman, a Yowie monster. So I just summon him out here, or I'd throw him down here. You cannot summon and then tribute for a summon on the same turn. This also counts as your normal summon. So you cannot summon and then tribute on the exact same turn. So next would be the draw phase. So basically, unless you're going first, you draw 1 card from your deck at the beginning of each of your turn. So you take the top card and you draw and add it to your hand. I just drew Dragon Zombie, which is actually not bad. So I'd summon him in attack position. When you summon and set cards, that is called your main phase 1. You can normal summon or set monsters and play your spell or trap cards. So basically it allows you to do whatever here, play whatever spells or traps you got down here, and, you know, basically set up for the next turn. After that, you'd have what would be called the battle phase. Now, if your opponent happens to have Misaki, the legendary swordsman, over there, and you have a cursed dragon over there, during the battle phase, you can attack your opponent's monster and deal that damage. So he has, like I said, 1,100, and this one has 2,000. You take that, subtract that, that'd be 900. Take 8,000, subtract that by 900, and that'd be your opponent's life points. That'd be 7,100, by the way. Anywho. After all of that, You cannot activate spell or trap cards. Well, you cannot activate certain spell and trap cards during the battle phase. Although most trap effects are considered quick effects, which I'll get to here in a couple of seconds, you cannot activate those like right away off the bat. You have to wait till your main phase 2, which is after your battle phase, and then you could play a couple cards, like normal summon if you haven't yet, and you could play more spell or trap cards. And the final phase is your end phase, when your turn is over, and then the opponent will begin with their draw phase, standby phase, main phase 1, battle phase, main phase 2, end phase. And it just keeps going down the line here, as I have on here. And yes, I know this is a crappy map, but it's the only one I got that I could actually teach you guys with. So the next thing I'd like to mention here is the deck spots. So the deck spots here, you have 5 main monster zones. You have the 2 link zones, which I'll get to in a later video. You have the graveyard zone, the 5 spell or trap zones, 2 pendulum zones if you're playing pendulums, the field card zone, and the extra deck zone. We'll get to extra deck cards, pendulum cards, and the link cards later. But right now, let's focus on how to use spell and traps, field zones, and if I can, I'll try to explain how the deck and graveyard works. So when you have your deck to begin the game, you just basically throw your deck right there. Easy as pie. And when we get into extra decks, you throw your extra deck over here. But we'll, again, discuss that in a later video. Whenever a card you're done using is destroyed or sent to the graveyard, like so, it goes in here. So when you're done playing your spell, goes to the grave. If your monster is destroyed, goes to the grave. If your spell or trap is used up, basically, it just goes to the grave. Everything ends up going to the graveyard, basically, eventually, unless you're using it to swing and attack and win for game. So, moving on from all of that, let's talk about the types of spell cards. So, there are multiple types of spell cards that have different types of effects in the game. I mean, look at all these different spells. So beautiful. I know, a lot of my cards are ruined, that's just because they're really old. So, if you're going to play a card like Yugioh over here, who would play Swords of Revealing Light, you'd activate it, and instead of sending it to the graveyard right away, even though it just says spell card, basically your opponent cannot use their battle phase, step 4, for 3 whole turns, which technically does give you 3 times to be able to draw and get whatever the heck you need out of there. A quick play spell, I just showed you one a few minutes ago, I'll pull that one right back out. Where did you go, Double Cyclone? There you are. A quick play spell is a spell card that can be played on your opponent's turn. How you can tell if it's a quick play spell as if you see that little lightning bolt right there at the end of the word spell card. That right there indicates that you can activate it basically whenever. During the battle phase, during standby phase, basically whenever time you want, unless you set it right away in your turn. Because yes, you can set spell cards and just hold on to them down there. I really wouldn't, though, unless it's a card that you want to set down there and it has an effect during your opponent's turn. Otherwise, with cards like Double Cyclone, I'd either keep that in my hand or just have it set down on the field in general. But, you know, other cards, you know, maybe you don't want to set on the field, like Monster Reborn. Anywho, moving on from that. That's a story for another time. The next type of spell is continuous spell, which means rather than one-time activation and being sent to the graveyard, it stays on the field. If I can just get it to fix up for a second. Basically, it has a little infinity sign right there. So basically, if you were going to activate a spell like this one, Constellar Tempest, it would be a continuous spell, and rather than once just activating and then being sent to the graveyard, it actually just stays there on your field. So you can utilize its effect usually once per turn, again and again and again, and just keep using that effect, because continuous spells can help, especially decks like Six Samurais. I think Marine Cess somewhat uses them. There's probably a couple others I should be able to mention right now, but again, I'm really tired, and I haven't been able to do a lot recently. The next type of spell I want to talk about is the equip spell. So it has a little cross-like symbol right here. Basically, what you do is you play this card, and it equips onto a certain card. So this one, you have to have a spirit monster. I don't actually have one on hand at the current moment. So basically, you'd summon this. We're going to pretend that Hunter Dragon's a spirit monster, even though really he's not. And just by activating this effect, it would equip onto that card. If this card is ever destroyed, then this card loses the buff that this card is giving. You don't just set them underneath. I made that mistake when I was younger because I wasn't very smart. But it does go in here, and it stays there as long as your monster's there. If your monsters get destroyed, then this card gets destroyed with it. If this card usually gets destroyed, unless it says in its text, if this card is destroyed, then the other one's destroyed, then this goes to the graveyard, and this one stays there just fine. The next type of spell I want to talk about is probably the Field Zone spell. Now, the Field Zone spell is much different from your normal spell. So, let's see here. The Field Zone actually is way over here. That's your Field Zone. It's basically your 6th bonus mini spell in Trap Zone. Yay! Basically with that, you have to find one that also has a cross, but instead of a cross, it kind of looks a little bit more like a compass. So you can see it right there. This one is known as Wasteland. This one is known as Mountain. Basically with these, you can play them over here. And yes, these do affect both you and your opponent's fields. So basically, if you have a Field Zone out and your opponent does not, he can utilize the exact same Field Zone effect that you have. Or if he's not playing the right deck, then he can't really use the same effect at all. But with Wasteland on the field, it increases the ATK of all dinosaur, zombie, and rock-type monsters by 200 points. Instead of that, if I wanted to play Mountain instead, it increases all the attack and defense of all dragon, winged beast, and thunder types. Yes, there basically is a minor version of a Field Zone for like all of them, but these are the only 2 I actually own, so we'll move on to the other ones later. Regular spell card, Mystic Box, Dark Magician, yeah. Okay, moving on from all that anime stuff. A spell card is basically a one-time use, and then it goes to the graveyard after you're done using it. But this one has a very interesting effect. Target one monster your opponent controls and one monster you control. Destroy the first target, then give control of the second target to your opponent. I honestly have never seen anybody successfully use this card except Yugi in the anime in my lifetime. If somebody else wants to go out there and do it, great, go right ahead. Not going to stop you. As a matter of fact, I want to see it. It'd be really cool. I'm pretty sure that mostly covers up all the spell cards. If there's one I'm missing, then just comment it down in the comments below. I could pretty much deserve it for not remembering. Oh, wait. Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's one type of spell I missed. I knew it. But I'll actually get into that spell in a later video because I'm not going to take the time to discuss what type of spell that is. So, to top it all off, to finish up, rounding up this video, I'm going to talk to you guys about trap cards. Trap cards are cards like Acid Trap Hole, Scrap Iron Scarecrow, Mirror Force. Now those cards can be quite a troll, especially the Mirror Forces. But basically with a trap card, I'm just going to go with Scrap Iron Scarecrow. You are not allowed to activate this card right away from your hand like you could with a spell card. No. With a trap card, you have to set it, wait a turn, and then you're able to activate it. So basically with traps, you can set them down, wait till your opponent's turn, and then you can activate it during your opponent's turn. So like with Scrap Iron Scarecrow, activate only when your opponent's monster declares an attack, negate the attack, and set this card face down on defense position once again on the field. So let's just say you're being attacked by that nasty witty phantom again. Well, if that witty phantom just so happens to attack you, you can activate this trap during his turn, protecting your life points, so you take 0 damage, and his battle phase just gets completely negated for that one hit, because he has the good old Scrap Iron Scarecrow sitting there on the field. And because of Scrap Iron Scarecrow's effect, usually a trap card would go to the graveyard after you're done activating it like this one, but thanks to this one's effect, you can just set it right back onto your field, absolute no problem. Other cards, like Acid Trap Hole, after you use it, this would go to the graveyard. Select one face-down monster, position monster, and flip it face up. If the opponent's monster is 2,000 or less, destroy it. Less defense, destroy it. If the monster's defense is more than 2,000, then you basically flip it back face down. Counter traps like this one are probably the fastest type of card in the game. They can negate basically anything. They have this little weird curved arrow symbol there in the corner. And basically the last one is a continuous trap. Alright, I'll talk to you guys next time. That pretty much covers it all for me today. If you guys want to learn how to play more Yu-Gi-Oh, then please let me know. Alright, peace.